That is a great name for a female impersonator club. Mushrooms?
Mushrooms.
That's filthy.
I think we start out the episode with Martin Landau jogging because Murder, She Wrote has a fussy jog quota.
This eyeshadow, which if it's even eyeshadow, it's craft glitter.
Get out of here. I don't want to see you kissing. Gross.
His own Rimshots at mushrooms.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
By the way, that word makes me a little warm. We're so ready. Hi, I'm petrified.
I'm Victor Devon.
And tonight on
On Murder, She Wrote.
I've been practicing it. I really have.
It's that authoritative Angela Lansbury voice that
Right.
really
On Murder, She Wrote.
exactly. And I have to say, so last week I had mentioned I didn't know how she did it when it was split episodes. If she ever did like a last time on Murder, She Wrote. I still don't know, but yesterday, because I told your husband and I are watching our own just our own Murder, She Wrote,
Sure,
because that's what we do. Yeah. So she opened it with last time on Magnum PI because it was the crossover.
Right.
So I still don't know.
my
I
God.
still don't know.
We're gonna, when it comes up, we're going to bookmark it. We're going to save it forever.
It's gonna be very exciting.
Okay.
So this is the third official episode.
Third official episode. That's right. Episode
First.
Season 1, episode 3, Birds of a Feather.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just had our Cabot Cove episode last week where we met all of the usual suspects, at least for that time. And now we are in San Francisco, as evident by the San Francisco
Golden Gate
Bridge.
How convenient. Wow.
You need to know.
He's got to be jogging right in front of the bridge so that we know it's San Francisco. We're watching a tourist video at this point.
Yeah. It's like when we go to New Orleans, it has to be Mardi Gras, which in fact it will be.
This really is like a featurette for tourism San Francisco.
Now we have some pedigree here because we have Martin Landau immediately in this chocolate brown leisure running suit.
God, it's so ugly. Oh my God. It was the first thing I said when I started the episode was, what is that disgusting running suit? No, he looks dirty already. Martin. Oh, it's corduroy too.
Oh, it's ribbed at the very least. If it's not corduroy, it's ribbed.
That would be so hot to jog in.
Well, isn't that I mean, I'm not an exercise person, but don't you want there to be some sort of insulation, like leg warmers, to sort of keep you
that is a
going?
great question. Most of what I remember is in the 90s, Martin Lawrence, the comedian, was like hospitalized once because he was wearing like coats out in like 100-degree weather jogging. So the lesson I learned was don't wear warm clothes when you go jogging. But you could be right. You could be right. What's happening in this episode so far?
Well, so Martin Landau, we already established, is someone of authority, and Jeff Conaway, I always call him Jeff Conaway. Conaway of Taxi and Grease fame. He was Kaneki in the movie Grease. Is going up to him saying he wants out of his employment, whatever that is, and we don't know yet what it was. But he indicated, I don't want to talk about the things that I had to do for that money. So it already sounds seedy or dangerous.
We'll find out. Then during the same jog, Martin is hit up by another one of his employees who's PO'd for some reason. So I think if you're a Murder, She Wrote watcher, you understand what's happening here. We're setting up a lot of potential candidates for murderers and
suspect list.
Very clearly identifying who the victim is going to be right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Yeah. I think they get more clever as the episodes go on and they don't land it so heavily, but it's like
they weave them in.
Possible killers.
It's a little bit more gently. Yeah. And now we have Victoria, who is played by Genie Francis, making her first of several appearances as Jessica's niece.
Oh, you mean she's not playing the role of school marm? What is she wearing? What is the hair? She's wearing a bun.
It is a bun, and that looks like a real that looks like her. I think that's all her in
It
there.
is. I think it is. If she lost the hair bun, it might be cute. If she lost that ruffled blue shirt, it might be cute. But as it is, she looks like she's playing about 80.
Yeah. She's
Her
going to the schoolhouse right now, and it's one of those schoolhouses where all of the grades are in the same room and they all learn at the same time.
That's right. She's just learning her times tables. Uh,
But
no,
they're getting married, she and Jeff Conaway.
right. But he keeps disappearing. He keeps not being available. She's only been here 5 days, by the way. So they're doing a long distance thing, and she's showing up to get married in San Francisco, with apparently only her Aunt Jessica there. No other family. No, 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 nothing.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jessica had to travel all the way from Maine to San
yeah,
Francisco.
yeah, yeah. For this wedding, we don't know what relationship this niece is to Jessica, but
I
she is
think it would
added
have
to
to be,
her family tree.
I mean, would it be make sense if it was one of Frank's kids?
I don't think it is because Jessica makes an allusion later, and we don't have any murderers.
I mean, not Frank's kids, but Frank's brother.
Yeah,
Sorry. Right, because they didn't have it.
I did a
I mean,
little.
we meet very soon we actually meet Jessica's brother in an upcoming episode where his daughter is having a mental break. And so that's how she's related. And then we also meet a cousin who's related to Frank in the New Orleans episode. This one, I don't know if they actually specify.
I think they do. I did a little digging because
Uh-huh.
my Fletcher family tree needs to be
Oh,
absolutely accurate.
sure.
So, but nothing. We can sort of
Oh,
assume that she's on Jessica's side because of something Jessica says about we only had one killer in our family, which implies that it's, her line, but we don't know.
well, also the relationship that they seem to have, they do this a lot, where it's someone that we've never met before, and they do this later on, where there's like, I haven't seen them in 5 years, but we were very close before then.
Yeah.
The acting is such where you believe that they've known each other for
Yeah.
years.
Oh yeah. And thanks in part to Angela Lansbury being the most like grandmotherly, lovely person
Absolutely.
um so Vicky is telling Jessica about how she cannot pin down Howard, her Jeff Conaway, and she keeps finding shit on him, like a napkin stain with lipstick. He smells of perfume. He has dark circles under his eyes. She found out that he hasn't been at his job as a, what is it, insurance salesman for 30 days or something.
Yeah. And
Um,
there are matches from a nightclub that she doesn't recognize, or from a restaurant, or from a place of like a cabaret type situation.
yeah,
And they're all over his apartment, evidently.
which is a little sloppy, Howard.
Yeah,
You try to
yeah.
do something, why are you leaving those all over the place? Um, but my favorite part about this scene is that Jessica is basically like, okay, let's go spy.
Yeah.
Actually,
She's game immediately.
yeah, she is an enabler. She says, "No, we're not going to have a mature relationship conversation about this. We're going to go spy and see what we can find out."
I mean, it's a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love also like when she shows her the napkin, Jessica's like, that's not your shade.
Hmm, hmm.
No, 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 it's not.
Wait, what's
Uh,
the cosmetics company that comes around in several episodes later?
Lila Lee,
Lila Lee. Can't
played
wait.
by
It's
Jane
one of my
Meadows. Yes,
top
yes,
five.
yes.
Yep. Okay, so they
So,
show up at I think the club is called Les Champignons.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
should we do a translation of what that means?
Then yeah.
I don't know. How did they spell it?
It is Les Champignons. I have pulled up here.
Is it
Is
CHA champion?
That can't be right. I think I must have spelled it wrong because the translation is mushrooms.
Oh, maybe. It could be. I mean,
Maybe.
actually, although that is a great name for a female impersonator club. Mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
That's filthy.
I was just gonna say dirty as hell.
That's pretty great. The show Frasier, whenever they would say one of the like the many like hoity-toity restaurants that Niles and Frasier liked going to, it was always a non sequitur.
Yeah.
It would never make sense. It was like the candy cigar or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. God,
Now we
Frasier.
see a lady. a feminine figure performing in a in basically a curtain, a duvet.
Oh yeah.
But from far enough away, we don't know too terribly much. But
Okay.
they're singing live at this venue.
At first glance, it looks like a perfectly legitimate establishment. By
Yeah,
the
I
way,
mean,
we
an
gotta
alto, definitely singing alto.
we gotta give this MC here some kudos because my favorite part in the whole show, he's such a dick.
He needs to tell the Flaming Queen too.
Oh yeah.
Um, he appears multiple times in Murder, She Wrote in
Mhm.
basically the same type of over it F slur. Like that is that is his job.
He's
And
definitely
it makes a
serving.
lot of sense that his largest credit is as quote gay boy in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. That is
Oh, what a cheer. He made a career out of it.
yes. And
He's definitely
he is
giving
no
me
longer with
very
us. He
and
died in
yeah, really.
1991 from what we believe to be age-related illness. But what a bitch. What
What
a
a bitch.
bitch.
Giving me very like wedding planner Golden Girls vibes.
Yes, yes, yes. Excuse me for living, Miss Anita Bryant. Yeah, yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
caterer. Why isn't the show on the road?
We got a very quick glimpse of one of the other stars of this show, Freddie York, who is played by Mr. Cotter from
Mr.
Welcome
Cotter,
Back,
yeah.
Cotter,
Yeah.
Gabe Kaplan. Um, it's a beautiful venue.
I
The
mean, this does not look like a
chandeliers.
drag club to me.
There's a leather club. There's a leather daddy in the audience.
This is money here. They did make some very interesting costuming choices. They were like, San Francisco, got it.
Got it.
Hey,
Leather daddy.
cliche, cliche. Knocked it out of the park.
Done. So they've been seated. Victoria and Jessica have been seated, and they acknowledge, well, we can't really see the stage, which will be important because, you know,
Oh yeah,
something's off, but they don't know what.
yeah.
But they can look around and say,
Okay,
how
we
do
need
I
to talk about
know?
Mr. Cotter and his jokes here, Victor.
God.
Um, I'm getting very like, and can we talk about airline food?
Yeah, well, and also,
Yes.
but with extra, I hate my wife jokes like that. Definitely, definitely that. He does his he's very proud of this. He says this later in the episode. He does his own rim shots, which is they do dun dun tsh, and he's the only comedian or the first comedian to do that for his own jokes, which I guess at this point was impressive.
Uh,
I've only ever heard dun 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 tsh
wait a
in a
minute.
negative way.
So you tell your punchline and then you go ding, and then that's something
Exactly.
that we should celebrate. Revolutionary. Change the game.
We
But
have yeah,
who's this dame? This is the
this
wife of
glamorous,
Mark.
glamorous Carol Lawrence who appears in many Murder, She Wrote
Oh
and
yeah.
is possibly most known to the Broadway community as the first Maria in West Side Story.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Really are pulling in the theater crowd.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And she'd been in a million things too. She again, in addition to multiple Murder, She Wrote as different characters,
Mhm.
um, she made her work all over television. She appeared as lately as Sex in the City. I don't think she's with us anymore either.
Mm.
Or if she is, she's retired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen her face around. Um,
She's so, I mean, she's quintessential rich bitch Murder She Wrote
it's basically every part.
character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Oh, by the way, so this club and this episode was actually inspired by La Cage aux Folles,
Okay, that
which
makes
would have
sense.
come out, the Broadway version would have come out in 1983, about a year and a few months prior to this episode airing. And then the book, or I'm sorry, the French film came out in 78, and this is obviously from 84. So it would have been really quite the ticket at the moment. And so they were kind of
Oh,
capitalizing on,
do you see the mushroom decor
oh my God,
above the?
it is the
It
mushrooms.
is the mushroom.
Here I am thinking I just had lousy French. Oh,
Uh,
oh my God.
we have a very handsome woman
The entrance of the
with
star, Michelle Dupont.
which is this eyeshadow. which if it's even eyeshadow, it's craft glitter. Like that's just straight up.
This is like Melissa McCarthy as Ursula, unfortunately.
And then we have, I believe is this the same person that we saw earlier on stage? Or is everyone wearing a caftan? I'm not quite sure. But it
Well,
turns out running from backstage is Jeff Conaway.
it sure could have been. It sure could have been. I wish we could have seen that performance.
So in the most hideous, oversized, desexualized drag one
Truly.
could possibly ever see.
Mhm.
He's
Think about
not having an affair.
eye to that man face.
Well, that seems to be what the shtick is, that they want everyone in on it. They
Right.
want you to
Right.
know.
This is not
And
impersonation here.
this is not, yeah, this is meant to be not a mockery. That sounds, but it's sort of, I wonder if this was done, if it was done today, first of all of these girls would be Rue girls for one thing. They would get like Chad Michaels, but they would
Yeah, yeah.
still get them to paint in a way that I feel would accentuate the fact that we're supposed to be in on the fact that they're men.
I suppose, but geez, this is like a 15-minute makeup job. It's bad. It's
Well,
bad.
everyone's wearing the wrong shade
Oh
for
my
one
God.
thing.
Yeah.
Makeup was not what it is now.
Jeff
It's
Conaway
not.
looked like they were in a tanning bed for about 2 weeks.
We don't have Anastasia Beverly Hills yet. Like,
Hmm.
this is drugstore, or actually, probably not even drugstore. This is theatrical makeup.
Oh, by the way, we did not mention that Howard just came out running because someone was murdered and he's now been detained by the police.
Yes,
But now he's in the back room making out with Vicky while he's all dolled up
I
and
know, but he doesn't
under
even have
arrest
his
for murder.
false eyelashes on. Look how long and luscious those are.
No, he's like a.
He's actually quite pretty.
Mhm. I meant that as a compliment. Big old floppy lashes. Good on you, Jeff.
Uh,
I have to admit, I think some of these romance scenes between Vicky and Howard are I think they take up real estate in the episode because there are places later where I want more and it just
mm.
breezes right through. And so I think this is pretty superfluous. Get out of here. I don't want to see you kissing. Gross.
It
Yuck.
happens multiple times, yes.
I
Well,
know.
I think also with the and again, because they're really heterosexual drag performers, cabaret performers, really. I don't even know if female impersonator is a phrase they use.
Yeah, they don't. They actually don't use any phrases even once in this episode to describe what the performers are doing. I think it's all implied. I wonder if because this was smack dab in the middle of the 80s, it was kind of precarious to broach this type of premise. Because and also there's no acknowledged like queer characters, right? Like all these drag queens and
Yeah.
they're all kissing ladies
Yes.
at some point
It's
during
a
the
sub point. It's a point. It's a plot
yeah,
point. Yeah.
yeah.
Like we must recognize. And I mean, and so we only see two, possibly three, depending on who the first singer is that we barely see in focus. Um, which I mean, it could have been Michelle DuPont in a different outfit. I'm not sure. Maybe it's her night.
The
Um,
character's name is Michael DuPont.
yes,
Lazy.
who has a tangential Golden Girls connection.
Tell me
While
more.
he was never in Golden Girls, he was in an episode of The Golden Palace,
Ah, which episode?
the actual final episode.
Oh,
Yes.
unexpected final episode.
Yes, and I don't, it's been a minute since I've watched The
Yeah.
Golden Palace, so I don't recall what all he has to do in that.
Mm.
However, when scanning his credits, in fact, that is I
And
believe he is the only one who has a direct Golden Girls connection
in this episode, oh,
in this
interesting.
episode, yeah. I
Well,
believe. I mean,
we
I will, well, I'll keep checking.
sure. They might make an appearance. Uh, we have met the cop. We have finally met the cop who is investigating the murder. Um, always a little delicious treat to see how the cop and Jessica interact. And she is particularly annoying to this guy,
Yes,
right?
he's over her kind of immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
But they're in a very like not sitcom, but in a very like
Weary.
but in an approachable
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
So
yeah.
some of these detectives are straight up assholes to
They're
Jessica.
nasty. Nasty
And they're
misogynistic.
misogynistic and they're rude. He never goes to this. He never says, "Oh, this is your female intuition, isn't it?" Which
Right.
some of them do, particularly the ones in the South. Um, and also, I don't think we've had a situation like this yet, but I encourage a drinking game, or at least a tally of every single time the accused or the detective says, "This isn't like one of your novels, Jessica," or words to that effect. Because
And
invariably someone will be like, "Oh, see, that's why you get the big bucks for one of your novels," or all the time,
yeah,
every episode.
you just wait. You just wait, Floyd. I think that's his name. But and
This,
his deputy has a crush on Jessica.
yes,
That's a little slip in.
I'll slip.
Yeah.
He is somehow accomplished. He has this weird trophy that looks like it's a little man on a ruler in the shots with him.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't, it looks like a ruler and
What
it's
do
an off-center little man.
you That's a cheap trophy. It looks broken.
Yeah,
You gotta throw that out, sir.
but official.
Oh, I love the extras in a prison scene.
Yes, you
Ooh,
have to
Leather
have, oh,
Daddy.
a separate Leatherman.
Who is hitting on a man? Maybe that is actually the most overt queer reference in the whole episode.
The second of two Leathermen
Yeah.
featured in a murder she wrote next to a presumed sex worker. I mean, I think already this is possibly too much for much of the Murder She Wrote original
Absolutely.
1984 audience.
We're laying some heavy groundwork here.
Yes.
This is the
And
kind
what
of show we're running.
I mean, the caftan,
He's still
frankly,
in it.
I
And it's
kind
still
of
on one
love.
shoulder. That's the best part. He's like,
And he could
I
just be
know it'll look good.
he could just wear the frock, but the frock is utterly shapeless.
Yeah. It is a pink potato sack.
Oh my God. But I kind of love the caftan.
It's very Dorothy's Bornak in a way.
I love it.
Maybe it's his shoulders.
I mean, I have a blanket that actually looks a lot like that. And it
Where
looks like fleece. It looks like it's actually that
it's
material.
so heavy and hot and disgusting. I will say he has a very nice nose. I was admiring his profile while I was watching this episode.
Did you watch Taxi? Were you a Taxi watcher?
I didn't. Um, oh, I meant to mention during the scene where Victoria and Jessica are having lunch, she mentions that her boyfriend was an actor in New York. Well, actually, he drove taxis, which was
Yeah.
a direct reference to his work in Taxi.
Yeah.
That was very cute. So,
Yeah, he was pretty great in Taxi. He was written out because he suffered with substance abuse problems early. But this is so, and then he started doing like a lot of these guest spots in a lot of these shows. He appears again as this character, and then that character is recast. So I
mm,
don't know if he suddenly wasn't available or if other things were going on. But
right.
we see Howard again later as an actor in an allegory play, and it's not Jeff
Yeah.
Conaway
Yeah. Yeah.
because Victoria appears. She
Remember
moves
that
from
now.
yeah, she goes into advertising
Mhm.
and is actually a suspect, and then she goes into real estate and becomes a suspect.
You really should just lay
This
low.
hair, oh my God, this hair.
I mean, I kind
Mhm.
of love the hair. It is such a
It's
moment.
Robert Plant.
I would wear that hair. It's too bad it looks so ugly on his busted face.
Oh
Okay, so what
God.
happened is that Howard is recounting to Jessica what happened. He went in to sort of tell Martin Landau, I'm not going to do this anymore. And he's okay. He saw a gun on the floor, right? He picks up the gun and holds it how toward
hmm
Martin.
Doesn't even hold it up by the barrel, holds it up by the
No,
handle.
sir.
Yeah.
What are you expecting? Is that how you
No,
pick up a gun you just find on the
no.
floor? Absolutely not.
As an actor, he should know that.
I know. This was probably one of those things where he was like, as an actor, like, this is dumb. And the
This
director's like,
is
do
stupid,
it.
but we need it. We need it for the plot.
We need the visual.
And then we had as seen, that's how we know that he's a suspect is because Flo, the secretary Flo,
By
uh,
the way.
discovers him, played by Barbara Rhoades, who is in not only Another Murder She Wrote, but in she was on
Everything.
Maud for an
Yeah.
episode. She was in Rhoda for an episode. Lots of one episode jaunts.
She's funny. I really quite enjoyed the scene in the car later.
Yes.
We'll get to it. One of the best little character moments in the whole episode, I think. So Jessica's on the phone with Floyd, you know. I just I mean, I'm kind of I think okay, this is just going to turn into a podcast of me sort of fantasizing about Jessica being with all of these men that she meets.
I mean,
Uh,
that's subtext.
yeah, I never really realized how much like flirting goes on in the show until we've been watching it sequentially. And I know it's been like 3 episodes, but it's like Jessica got a little somebody something in every episode so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
many, and then of course a lot of folks that she flirts with, like the what is he? He's like the he's not an ambassador, but he's like someone high up in like Russian intelligence that
Hmm.
just shows up, and she immediately says like we should stay around for a while and go fishing. Like
Oh
you
yeah,
went fast, Jessica.
really. She likes the company of the gentleman.
So Carol Lawrence has taken over operations because her husband Martin Landau, has been shot allegedly by Jeff Conaway, and she is fighting with Michelle DuPont, who's now very mask
Oh,
in
very
this suit.
looks like
Very, very mask.
bare jaw, slick back hair, pomade.
But they're arguing so clearly they must hate each other. They couldn't possibly be lovers.
Oh,
And get into that portrait behind them.
I know. Is that him?
That I believe is meant to be
It
him.
looks like Farrah Fawcett with his face photoshopped onto it. It's pretty bad.
It's pretty, pretty bad.
Those are some quick eyes, Mr. Devon. I did not catch that the first time.
Oh, I don't even know if I did either, but I've seen this episode many a time.
Okay, I gotta ask you. We're in a scene with Freddie uh
Mr. Cotter. Yeah.
and Jessica. What do you think of his performance in this episode?
It's hard to say because one, I could say it's effective because I never was a Welcome Back Kotter watcher, so I only know bits of that character. I don't know a lot else by him. I think he may have been in a Columbo or something like that.
Hmm.
He is the type of gentleman that I would recoil from. So I think it's effective acting because I would like to think that that's not his go-to, but
Yeah.
he is obnoxious, he's sleazy, and he's utterly not charming. But
Not at
I, but again, like maybe it's not a good acting job because he's supposed to be
kind of
successful.
oh yeah. I can't decide.
I don't know. There are a lot of people that I find completely unappealing though that are completely successful, however.
Care, but perhaps they tell better
Why
jokes.
do you ask?
Well, I'm not sure because we saw his jokes. They were bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I was thinking about this while I was watching it. Like, what is it about in television shows, writers writing stand-up comedy that's so impossible? It just doesn't work unless you
Mm,
show like maybe hacks. It simply doesn't work when you're writing for a stand-up comedy. I think what's missing is you don't have the voice of the comic in the writing
hmm
process, and so jokes never have shape or life. They just land so flat. And I
Well,
think
that's why you have like script doctors. Like Harry Fisher was a famous script doctor who would go in and tweak things.
yeah.
But I think I don't know if it was meant to land because even Jessica, who is our eyes, thought that it thudded
Oh
when
yeah,
yeah, she was not impressed. She was like, okay. And I think we're
successful he is, and how everybody wants to hire him, and it's like I don't buy it. Who's hiring him? Someone who needs
uh
him to do their own rim shots, sing on payroll? Is that the whole
his
point?
own rim shots at mushrooms.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
By the way, that
Yeah.
word makes me a little warm. Okay,
Uh
Flo and Jessica are in the car. This is my favorite
great
episode.
great character actress moment
Uh-huh.
for this for Barbara Rhoades.
Basically, she says, "Oh, I don't talk about my work." She's got fired, by the way. I don't talk about my work, and then she proceeds to tell Jessica everything she could possibly want to know about the people she works with.
It's
And,
important because Jessica has to pump very frequently. So when one is so freely providing, it's
uh-huh.
very good for exposition and it lets us know. Why Carol Lawrence was so threatened by her,
I
I
would
don't
too.
know.
Yeah.
Maybe she just thought she'd get in the way. in some capacity because she's now in charge and she's cleaning house.
Well, so I read something that implied that there's an implication that Flo and Martin Landau were having an affair. But I
Oh.
didn't pick it up anywhere in the episode itself. So maybe they cut something, maybe some subtext was lost,
I
but
mean,
that would make more
she
sense why she got fired.
when Carl Lawrence and Candace shows up, Martin Landau's wife,
Yeah.
to the nightclub, she's the one who intends to go tell him. So she stops the waiter who was informed to go tell him, and she
Yeah.
says, "I'll take care of it."
Yeah.
But as a personal assistant, that does sort of make sense that that would be her job.
Yeah.
Um,
And she
and she
did.
calls him Mr. Drake. Like there's still a clear professional relationship.
Oh, can we play this line of Jessica's?
It's right here.
Whole scene, yeah, where she
Nice
said,
to talk to someone who knows how to be discreet. Thinking of buying it? Or merely
Jessica
jumping?
is manipulative as fuck. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah,
You know she is.
yeah.
She took advantage of that poor Flo.
This is fun because this is
Love this.
Mike slash Michelle DuPont.
Mhm.
Again, very mask.
Yeah.
All these ladies are using their real eyebrows in drag. And Carol Lawrence in this scene, and she's fabulous. I love this coat. I love this styling. I think she looks awesome. And they're walking along the pier, and they're both realizing that they think the other person killed Martin Landau.
Great. And it almost doesn't have any like any weight in the episode. I'm not sure because Jessica's not there. This never comes back.
Right.
It's a cool.
It's
Yeah.
completely for us.
Yeah. And in a way, it sort of tells us who is and who isn't a killer, right? Because they both are concerned that the other one is, and so
Right.
we get kind of a cancellation. Um, so maybe
But
no
one would think
unintended
that
consequences of this scene, but
that this was meant to then brush that aside, but Jessica still interviews
oh yeah,
Carol Lawrence
oh yeah,
because she still knows something.
yeah,
Which is like it almost like this scene should almost have made that irrelevant. But I mean, that's still a great scene. That's the golf scene.
mhm.
And I know anytime Angela Lansbury gets to like back and forth with a suspect is terrific,
So
particularly an affluent one.
mhm.
Um, but I think there's doubt in Carol Lawrence's eyes and in Mike's
Oh,
eyes.
his is great. His are great. He looks downright like I don't trust this bitch.
I know. And they do it again. I think there's another scene, even if it's quick, where
Mhm.
they kind of have the same moment and they're like, oh, okay, maybe you didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh, it's our friend, the maitre d'. Oh, what a
The
gem.
sassy maitre d'.
Title of episode. The maitre d' did it.
A maitre d' is some kind of waiter.
Say no less, right?
Uh,
Is this the Murder She Wrote podcast or
I mean, I think folks at home, this is what you're in for. That's what you're really here for.
to be honest?
Uh,
It's the fine print.
one of Jessica's many scarves, which I actually really love. It's
I
almost patriotic, muted.
was gonna say it's kind of Americana.
Yeah.
Yeah, very that.
And I think, but it has like pine tree detail, I think.
I love that she has dragged the detective to the club to test her sound theory, which actually, considering that this was so much of the killing, was like, what's the sound? I thought
Right.
they might lean into some of those clues more, but they kind of don't.
I mean, they explain it.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it's sort of TV logic
yeah,
because the Martin Landau was shot,
yeah.
and the method of being shot, even with a silencer or some capacity, you probably should have still been able to hear it. The idea that a drummer or someone drumming would prevent that, like you hit a drum at the same time somebody shoots. I don't know. I think
Pretty
you'd still
convenient.
hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
But they don't even, and this episode doesn't even include a silencer per se. Um,
Not an official one.
Not an official one. Oh, Cotter's been
Oh no.
thrown to the thrown off the stage.
Freddie
This
Cotter.
is also this is bonkers. So the lights, while Jessica is talking to the detective, and Cotter comes out and says, "Oh, so am I a suspect?" Basically, the lights start falling from the rope,
Hmm.
removed from sandbags in some capacity, and you hear that, and he is knocked off or somehow removed from his
Yeah,
position on
yeah.
stage.
To avoid getting hit, he crashes
Right.
to the ground, whatever. Yeah.
And injures his neck.
Hmm.
Jessica, fine.
Yeah.
She's
Really,
fine.
she literally says like, "I'm fine." Um, well, and so now there's suspicion. Oh, someone's trying to kill Freddy. Someone's trying to kill.
Right. Is
Uh,
it a conspiracy
what's
that
going on
multiple people
here?
are?
Who
Yeah.
is guilty? Um, and then she just shows up at the detective's house. She just shows up
And he lets her in his robe,
and makes her coffee. I
and
know.
she plays with his cat,
Gracious.
baby.
He refers to that cat, I think, as Georgie, or no, that's not right.
I think George.
George, but then as a she.
Yeah.
And most marmalade cats are male,
Oh.
which is
Well, Jessica immediately says, "What's her name?" And
yeah,
he says George.
yeah.
So George meows.
Oh, I love. Well, I just realized, of course, that's sort of this is the drag episode. This is the men as women episode. This is the fuck gender episode. Hell of
Ah.
episode. Pronouns?
And look at all these plants he has.
Honestly, he's a
This
good
this
guy
man living alone with a cat and multiple plants.
in San Francisco.
I'm just saying.
So maybe the sexual
Let's see,
tension
is there any
is
indication on the walls?
probably
His
not.
paintings are fairly
They're a little pink
mundane.
toned. He's got a Japanese scroll in the background.
It's
I
a
say looking
little
for Jess.
flowery.
Yeah. That robe is a lovely peach color.
It is barely terry cloth. Like it looks like it has been through it.
Look at that big ring too. That big. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Are
I
are we
we're
are we
not to
casting
assume.
aspersions on
I know
Lieutenant
we're not to
Floyd
assume,
Novack?
but I think Floyd is how do you say this? Uh the man's as gay as a picnic basket.
Well, he is a friend of Jessica's. Uh yeah, I don't know if we're meant to say that or think that. Because again, so many of these characters are
Yeah.
asexual
Oh,
in
absolutely.
depiction, unless they're outwardly making out
Which
many times.
this episode intends to show us that the men do. So,
Hmm.
considering Floyd doesn't make out with anybody, I might be saying something. Jessica just bailed out Howard because after the stage light fall thing, is it sort of assumed that he didn't do it because
Well, there's no evidence.
would have been
There's not
there,
enough evidence.
right? Um, she did say that
And
she owes the city of San Francisco options to her book. Oh,
there's the
no,
golf
please. I was
scene.
waiting for it because she's
Which
gonna
also,
hate
this
bitch.
is not a golf course. This is a park.
This
Like,
is a
this is
public park.
so
Yeah.
weird.
It's like a makeshift
Who?
driving range set up in a public park. And basically, this rich bitch is playing golf with poor people in the park, which wearing what she's wearing.
It's the Golden Gate Country Club, according to that sign in the back. That is a park. I'm sorry. That's not a country club. That
Park.
is a public park that they got a permit for.
Hmm.
Partially because that is a street right
Yeah.
next to them.
Did you catch the shade that they
In
both
which
they
in which
when they
moment?
both sort of see each other, they throw shade. She's like, "Oh, I love your outfit. I've never seen it in that color before."
Let's have a
Oh, Mrs. Fletcher, everybody
let's
knows
have
who
a
you are
moment.
by now. I just love it.
Oh, good shot. Oh, my, what a nice dog. What's his name?
Fritz, but be careful. He's had attack training.
That's a
As he
very
sits.
attractive outfit. I've never seen it done in black.
I'm in mourning, Mrs. Fletcher.
You know me.
By now, everyone at the club knows you.
Good for Tabby.
Do please accept my
Spectacular.
Love it.
I'm in mourning, Mrs. Fletcher.
She really does know how to provoke, doesn't she?
Jessica?
Yes.
Oh my, yes. Oh my, yes.
Good at it.
Well, and I think generally speaking, she knows which approach to take.
Yeah.
She knows who to go with flattery, who to go with specific intention. There's a great upcoming episode where she totally goes uh Manchurian Candidate mother on one of the characters, and it's such a great acting moment for Angela Lansbury. But she has a great sense of how she will be perceived. Sometimes she's very soft and slow, very like quiet, and she knows with Candace, she has to be a little bit more assertive. And I think Candace would appreciate that, frankly.
I think so too. Two assertive ladies. They respect each other.
So we're toasting because Drake is dead. That would be Martin Landau.
And Freddie gets out of his contract.
Out of his contract.
Yeah. Gonna go to Vegas. He's also like showing some thigh here, which is
So
like,
much leg.
hey, we like a leg. Show me your shape, Freddie. By the way, his agent is serving like greasy agent, obviously, but he is a delightful little character.
Yes.
I enjoy his inflections. He reminds me of somebody. He reminds me of what's the guy who talks like this?
Oh, Peter Lorre.
Yes, yes. He's got kind of a Peter Lorre look to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shame on me for not remembering his name.
Oh, it's all quite all right. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
He's pretty great. Again, it's a thankless part because he's not a suspect. He's
Nope.
never a suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess no, he's never a
Sort
suspect.
of is like a
A little
second
bonus.
like
Yeah.
he's around, but
He's business really, because without him, we wouldn't know about Freddie getting out of this contract.
he gave
If
us a position.
yeah, we need that. We need business in some cases.
Oh, Vicky, why are you wearing that hair still? I don't get it. What
Still.
did she do? What is her job? Did she
I don't
tell-
know if she's in advertising yet.
I don't think she told us. Vicky, go to the salon. Oh my God. It ages
It is very Katharine Hepburn. It's very African Queen.
fair. But at this time, wasn't Katharine Hepburn doing like On Golden Pond?
Yes. She had that hair in gray. Yes,
Okay.
yes, she did. Yes, she did. Ah,
Oh, by the way, they're both very tan.
they're
Very.
if they're not actually tan, this episode borderlines on brown face
A little bit.
because everyone is
Oh.
very, very dark.
Michelle DuPont? Are you kidding?
Very, very dark.
Might as
And
well
I
be
wonder if one of the reasons they do that is to say, see, we're in San Francisco. See? In addition, that these shows, they were not expecting high definition. They were not expecting,
No, we'd be looking.
yeah.
By the way, Jessica's back in her room getting trying to get a nap because apparently she's gotten no sleep, which we didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, she comes back to the detective and says, I thought about the feather. We barely covered the feather.
Yeah, I didn't even remember it until she brought it up. Also, there's apparently a bird in this episode, which is kind of glossed over too.
The bird is in Martin Landau's office.
Right, which is
And when
theoretically where the feather comes from, right?
Right, which is found on his body when he was killed.
I don't think they even said that, or if they did, it was so quickly in
They
passing.
do, because she mentions the feather just quick enough for them to say it doesn't match the bird. And then they're like, okay, let's not worry about it ever again. And it's one of those things where she does something or someone says something that makes her realize, and her putting the pillow around her head to drown out the noise in the hotel room next to her makes her realize someone used a pillow as the silencer, I bet.
Very convenient that there was construction in the room. Where did that come from? Also, like, was that set up anywhere? No, there's just
No.
noise and construction where she's staying.
It's
For her.
just business. It just gets us
Mhm.
where we need to go.
You don't need any of this exposition shit.
But I mean, and that's and that's why this is not a documentary. But but it's like these things are like if it wasn't a murder, that could happen. Sure, why not? All of these things, but it's because she's one of the most observant people in the world to the point of it being almost a sign of autism, frankly.
I was gonna say it's kind of like a neurodivergent thing
Yeah.
we've got going on. Yeah,
I have a feel again, if this was done in today's circles, that probably would be because frankly, we do that with Monk.
exactly, exactly. They're like, let's just name it. Um,
So we've established that the sound that the rope made when the lights fell, Freddie York would have had to have heard,
and
which
jump.
is frankly, that doesn't mean that
Yeah,
he wouldn't have gotten out of the way.
this is a stretch. I think this is a really flimsy sort of way of exposing Freddie. Oh, by the way, everybody, Freddie did it.
Yeah.
Because he showed up here and essentially, okay, this confession scene is bonkers to me because basically she's like, "You killed him, Freddie." He's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Let me tell you why." And he's like, "I guess I got caught." And I'm like, "Wait a second,
I know.
that you
And
caught yourself so easily? Get an attorney, sir."
and in one of the few cases where the suspect confesses in view of the person in law, the actual police person.
Yeah.
Usually these people confess to just Jessica. And the
Mhm.
detective is either in the wings or
On a
that's it.
phone or like the last
Or
episode.
sometimes just it's implied that eventually they'll go tell the same story
Sure.
to the detectives. 'Cause sometimes if the episode runs long, we just get to the confession and them saying, "Yeah, I guess you got me," and Jessica looking, and then executive producer credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
we've established.
the great clue here that I thought was so brilliant was the pillow, right? We know there's a pillow, but well, and there's a scene when she's in Freddy's office earlier, she's looking at the settee under the window. And if you watch Murder She Wrote, you know that that's not there for nothing, right?
Right.
Unlike
No one says anything for no reason.
the superfluous makeout scenes, which are there for nothing. Um, uh,
Well, I mean,
in this
but
case,
they're there to create storytelling.
well,
The I view it in that sense because if we didn't see, for example, in this one, Howard and Victoria kissing, we wouldn't know that we're supposed to root for them as a storytelling device. Oh, no, they really are in love. Yes, he was dishonest to her, but we're supposed to move past that. Whether or not we do, that's up to us.
it's character work. I get it. You know what? I'm having a hard time separating it from like, we better show all these men in dresses kissing women. That the audience knows that they're not
They're
playing the
not
gags,
that
you know
way.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Which makes me a little about it. But again, Freddy just sort of like gives up to go back to the episode. He just sort of gives up. He's like, "Yeah, I guess I killed him. I couldn't get away with it. Oh well, I guess I'm not going to Vegas." The
And then
nonchalance of this man who's going to be arrested for murder.
And then the detective says, "Well, then why'd you do it?" And he says, "Ask her." And she explains it. He doesn't even confess, technically. I know. I mean, he co-signs and everything.
Yeah.
And he's still packing. Like,
I can't help but think that Freddie wanted to be caught because he literally ran out on stage when the lights fell. He has done everything possible to call attention to himself. Come on, Freddie, do better.
I mean, then it's somebody else's fault, isn't it? He now is relieved of the burden of being successful on his own outside of the quote safety net of this drag club. He had a chance of going to Vegas and becoming a humongous star. Well, now he can't. I guess we'll never know.
Okay, we are now at a very quick conclusion to Vicky and Howard's wedding. Okay,
Why is everyone there?
why are those people at that wedding? Why did
They're
those people give a flying fuck about Howard and Vicky?
all of the
Why
guests
is Candace?
are people in the club. Are people from the club?
Look at the
They
man
had no
with
extras.
his
They
eyes
have
at
no
the
extras
back.
budget.
This reminds me of Susan Hayward's climactic speech that I want to live. Well, at least Vicky let her hair down.
Oh. It's bunkers.
It's bunk.
Absolutely bunkers.
Oh, and now Jeff Conaway is getting a job in as an actor on a soap opera. Starts on Monday. Is okay, let me ask you something.
Mm.
If you were an out of work actor with no experience whatsoever, how do you think you would get a job on a soap opera 2 days a week like that? Dumb,
Well,
dumb.
I mean, and then we learn the next time that we see them, in the next episode where these characters appear, there's no job security in
No,
that.
no.
Uh, yeah.
I am glad you mentioned that they show up again because I never put it together that he was no longer in the cast.
Yeah.
Jeff
They
Conaway.
appear in season 3, in the Corned Beef and Carnage episode, which takes place at Victoria's advertising agency.
Mm,
And then when we see them again, he is back to working as an actor,
hmm.
and she's doing real estate. And her boss in that one is the fantastic Brenda Vaccaro. Um,
Oh, that's a great episode too. Oh,
Great episode.
wow.
There's a lot of really great moments in that, and a lot of really great women in that too.
Yeah.
Um, so to look at these characters that it's sort of, I think it's a semi nod to how often Grady shows up, I guess. It's just I
Mhm.
see she has other
She's the
family
other
members
one.
that are also, but she's not quite as useless as Grady. But she still does stupid things and puts herself in positions that make her a suspect
Yeah.
in 2 of the 3 appearances that she has. She also bears a passing resemblance to the woman who would play Grady's fiance and wife,
A
I
little bit,
think.
right?
A little bit.
The
A little bit.
what's her name? Oh, I love her. The one that sort of talks like
Yes.
she's great. Well,
Um, But I oh and just there's a little bit of trivia here, as a quick nod, because they love just as I think the mushroom, I can't say that that was an accident. I have to think that that was on purpose, and like little things like that. When Victoria mentions that the last time that Howard worked was in a play called Charlie's Aunt.
yes.
That play is evidently about a man who impersonates his aunt.
Yeah.
So it has some cross-dressing in that one as well. So just a cute
Yeah.
little thingamajig that the writers probably enjoyed.
Charlie's Aunt is a little it's a farce from it's very old. It was first performed in 1892.
Oh,
So
see, look
it's
at
been
you.
around a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think where the writers let me down this episode in all of the romance, they made up for in those little Easter eggs. So, bravo.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And again, it's very weird that DuPont and Candace show up at the end
Yeah,
because they clearly didn't have a great relationship
yeah,
with Howard in the first place.
yeah.
Um, Oh, I forgot that when he was running, Martin Landau, folks at home, the episode repeated. Not only do we see Jeff Conaway in that same white suit that we see him at his court date,
Yeah. Good
but we
white suit.
see the Drake dog, that was at the golf game is also
It is.
running with Martin Landau.
It's been trained to kill. Yeah.
But yes, he's had attack training.
And I just really, you know what? I think we start out the episode with Martin Landau jogging because Murder She Wrote has a fussy jog quota.
It reminds me
Can't
of
help but notice it.
It reminds me of another episode. It takes place at Cabot Cove where it's Mr. Penroy, where he is going for a walk
Yes.
and he is constantly interrupted by people, person after person after person. Um, and I had actually forgotten that when Martin Landau is jogging, the second person to bother him is Mike DuPont.
Yeah,
But because we hadn't yet seen him in the context of the drag, I kind of forgot who it was, who the
sure.
second person he was talking to was. But he's another person who wants out of his contract or he wants a change in
He,
management money.
he wants to buy the club.
Oh, that's what it is.
And
There you
I
go.
I couldn't figure so there are a lot of details in this episode that are so quick and they don't really ever come back that
They're semi-irrelevant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I lost
Yeah.
IMDb or other synopsis sites told me so.
I lost the thread.
Well,
I want to get one more moment. I know we're wrapping up, but I want to just fast forward back to that first drag scene. I want to see if we can recognize the
performer in the back.
the other performer. If it's a third that we don't know about, because one element about him is that they're clumsy.
Yeah.
Like part of the joke is that they're not good at their job. I
That's
think
the
that's Jeff
wig.
Conaway.
That is Jeff
That's
Conaway.
Jeff
That's the
Conaway.
wig.
And he is doing the full Blanche with the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
He is that uh that is a different, it may be the same fabric, but in this case his caftan is floor length. And I don't think it's
Oh,
floor
it's
length in
not.
later scenes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, I'm going to assume it's him just because I want to give him the screen.
I think it is. I think it is. I'm looking at it from a fairly large screen,
Yeah.
and that's his wig. His
That,
wig is falling
that is
off as he mounts the
absolutely that wig.
piano. Yeah.
Did he
Hang on.
get a performer name in this? I don't think
I don't think
Jeff
we
Conaway
knew
got a performer
his.
name. Maybe we should pick a performer name.
Well, his real, and also I love how Mike DuPont is simply Michelle DuPont.
Michelle DuPont, lazy.
Way to think outside the box
Agree.
there with your uh although again that's very Chad Michaels, that's very Willem, that's very old
It's
school, frankly.
uh-huh.
Uh I'm just looking back at the very red, very Twin Peaks red room sort of decor in the lobby. Well, that was Birds of a Feather.
That was
So
Les Champignons. Oh, I'm sorry, mushrooms.
any particular thoughts on how well that's aged, or if
You
it's
know what?
any.
After watching last week's episode, Deadly Lady, I think it was, I fully expected to watch this and be blown away and laugh my ass off. And I gotta say, I kept thinking that I liked last week's more.
Interesting.
I thought there was something quiet about it, and I thought, despite too many characters, I thought that it was more interesting to try to determine who the murderer was in the last episode. In this one, it feels like I said, I thought a lot of it felt rushed to accommodate certain scenes, and some details that would have been more interesting to hang on to may didn't make the cut, which is disappointing. But I think again, it makes up for it in sort of premise and plot devices like the drag club, and I think this episode is a real novelty. Like even though I don't think I like it as much as many episodes, I remember it more than most episodes.
Flashy.
Yeah, it's very
It's
flashy.
flashy and it's gaudy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is as evident by, I love it. They're walking towards the stage, and that's definitely Jeff Conaway just getting off
There.
the stage.
Yeah.
They just barely miss each other. Uh, Also, just an interesting note in terms of timeline. When trying to explain why they should be able to be seated at this very in-demand club,
Oh,
Victoria says, "Oh, this is Jessica Fletcher. She's a very famous mystery writer. She's had 6 bestsellers.
6.
So since the first episode,
Yeah.
either Victoria is amping her up, and it doesn't come across that way.
I think she actually has had the bestsellers.
She's indicated that enough time has gone by where Jessica has written at least 6 books.
Ranked them out. That's like, wouldn't you release like a book a year?
At most 2,
Yeah.
if you're really on fire. But like, I mean, who would have been a contemporary at that time? She says Barbara Cartland,
Yeah.
at one point or another. Like Jackie Collins was probably cranking out books on a fairly regular basis, but I can't imagine that it
No,
was that many.
absolutely not.
I think that they jumped.
I think they needed to establish her as somebody who could move through the world with a little cachet. And so,
Mhm. But still semi unfamousness, because
yeah,
he even says, "Who is that?"
yeah, he doesn't even know.
Yeah. But I mean, admittedly, doing a quick glance at Barbara Cartland's bibliography, she had several books that came out in 1975 and 1976. Now, those are romances and therefore possibly a little lighter, but we're talking like a dozen in one year.
I don't think so.
I know.
No
I
one had a
know.
chance to read them.
I know.
Granted,
No wonder they were bestsellers. I kept thinking they were the same book.
it's not the digital age, but anyway,
Well,
that's my takeaway from it. Fuck computers. What's your takeaway?
I think, uh, yes, I think it is on the frothier side. It's not a thinker. Um, it's impressive for 1984, some of the choices that they make.
Absolutely.
Um, and yet it also is of its time, because if it was a little gutsier, other choices would have been made that were made at this time by other shows.
Hmm.
So the fact that it shies away from, one could argue, I mean, that's also progressive by not leaning into stereotypes, by saying, see, not everyone has to be gay or not, or something like that. But that what I think would have added a little bit more teeth to it.
Yeah.
Um, and I still think you could have had the suspect list be clear. I would have been happy with some, as it is, there are only two women, there are only two entertainers depicted at that club.
Yeah.
Where's everybody else?
I would love to see a dressing
Like a
room.
backstage,
That would
yes.
have been
Have people
exciting.
in a series in like semi-undressed and getting ready and like show the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Like
I
a
would have been all for that.
theater.
Yeah, I would have been all for that.
Too
But I
bad.
think,
Bad makeup. Yeah.
yeah. Well, because again, like this highly theatrical, I love, we mentioned it a little bit last week too. Because we're in preparation for this episode. I love old style theatrical, what people would now view as clockable, sort of like hard grease paint makeup on. I think I don't know, there's something about it that does it for me. That Quentin Crisp sort of look about it. I just, for some reason, does it for me.
A little Charles
Um,
Bush too, which of course I
yes.
love that. Actually, Jeff Conway in his getup reminds me very much of Charles Bush.
Doing makeup for when you expect to be seen through a blur, or like a Gaussian blur, or in black and white,
Mhm.
and then you're not, because you're so painted. Also, like, I love also that by the Jeff Conway is from quote quote removing his makeup while still in, and he just wipes off his lipstick and he has no makeup on. Like, he had nothing on.
Those
He
big old
just had
capital
lipstick
Yeah.
on.
He's au natural, baby. He is. I wonder what they said then. Fish? No.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's neat. I think it's
It's neat. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
it's a dinosaur, but it's
It's a
yeah, it's a relic. It's a
yeah.
relic. And it does, I think it shows a certain hesitation of the era,
Yes.
because again, this is 84,
Before, so it would have
probably
been
filmed early 84, written 83, and pre-AIDS epidemic, or at least pre
pre the
AIDS
war.
panic,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know if, I don't know. Yeah, I think it has its moments. It has a very likable detective.
Love him. I wish he came back, to be honest. He's
The
solid.
actor does. I don't remember who
Yeah.
who and when, but the actor does come back. But there's this the styling of the club and the rooms, like all of the phones and the chandelier, it's all very lush. It's very theatrical. It's very cool. I want to wander around that set.
Pretty. It's
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
but
Unlike
yeah, the killer,
the
eh,
doc. Yeah.
eh.
Eh.
But I also gotta tell you, most of the episodes where it's a man killer, or a killer who's a man, doesn't really do much for me for some reason. I
Right.
like a lady killer. I don't know what it
I
is.
do
I think
too.
they're
Yeah.
much more interesting. I think
Always
their motives are much more interesting. Yeah. Oh, he
depend.
killed him because he wanted out of his contract. Go to Vic. Okay, and he shot him, of all things. And his
So
thought was to leave the gun on the floor and maybe, no,
makes no sense. Yeah.
he deserved to get caught.
He did. Which is probably why I gave up to. He's like, this was a rotten attempt on my
Yeah.
anyway.
Anyway, but that was Birds of a Feather. Uh,
That's
yeah.
fun.
So
That's fun.
yeah, and then and again, this is another one that's interesting because it's out of Cabot Cove and it's right before another really flashy episode, which is the Hollywood episode. when Jessica's book is made into a movie.
Oh yeah, very
That's
quick.
got some good stuff too. So yeah. And we don't return to Cabot Cove until episode 8.
It's a ways away.
It is quite a bit, which means we don't see Amos. We don't see Claude Akins. Yeah. So that's what we got. So that's Bridget Feather. Well,
Let's go on a trip with Jessica.
let's do a little tour.
Yeah.
And again, the pedigree is pretty impressive. Like we just had Martin Landau. We have Lynn Redgrave coming up in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Clearly some great actors coming in. So
Really into this. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, that was tonight. So we'll find out what happens next week on Murder, She Wrote.
Next
Well,
time on tonight on too much doesn't work.
well, I'm Victor Devon.
I'm Petra Fried.
And that was tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Bye-bye.